My name's Antonio Frias. I'm a father of a 10-year-old son. I'm a retired police officer for the city of Chandler. My son and I, and my wife, it's kind of a family thing. We all train jiu-jitsu and we all fight in tournaments. When my son was about 6 months old, his mom and I, after she had the baby, our relationship was just like oil and water. We could not get along and it was just not a good environment for him. As much as we tried to make it work, one day I left to go to work. I came home and the house was emptied. My son was gone, his crib was gone, his clothes, the food, everything was gone. I spoke to his mom and I told him, listen, you can't take my son away from me. We will work something out. Her comment to me was, you are not the most important person in his life. I am. Where you fit in is up to you. Everyone always talks about trying to be able to work things out amicably. This was not going to be amicable. So I knew then I was going to need to find an attorney. I had retired as a police officer. Now I was able to spend 100% of my 50% with my son. Mom was not happy with that. She then said, well, on paper, it looks like it's 50-50, but you spend more time personally with him. So that continued. There was motion after motion for, I would say, about a good 5 years. But at least every 2 years, there's at least a DCS case opened up. I would get a knock on the door. But there was at least 4 DCS cases by the time he was 6 years old, all unsubstantiated. The first time as a DCS case agent, I was scared. There's a constant pit in my stomach. Every day I wake up, I lost my appetite. I was basically drawn into a long-lasting depression. It was demeaning for my character to be assassinated, shredded, my integrity to be shredded. It made me doubt who I was and what I was to my son. I had been through a lot as a police officer. I had witnessed friends die, be burned alive in front of me, but this was the biggest emotional roller coaster in my life. This broke me. It broke me emotionally. I didn't have an attorney, but there was a friend of mine who was a paralegal for a local attorney. So I retained this attorney. I get a phone call from my friend Kim saying, as your attorney, we were just served an emergency order from the court. There's an order of protection against you, prohibiting you from seeing your son. Well, I didn't meet with this attorney until the day before the trial, where I finally meet up with him. It was only a half-hour meeting. In that half hour, I had to give him 7 years of litigation history between my son's mom and I. Couldn't fit that in 30 minutes. And he said, okay, well, we'll see. I don't see how this can go anywhere. I think we have a very good chance at winning this. We go to trial the next day. My son's mom attorney stands up. And I've seen it before. Like, I was a police officer. I've seen attorneys go in and try to put on a show. I knew I just got smothered by this attorney. More aggressive, more active. Very bulldogish, as everyone would describe a good attorney is to be. And mine was very meek. Didn't even stand up, didn't really even look at me, didn't look at my son's mom. When we walked out of the courtroom, I knew then that I needed to find an attorney who, A, was passionate about family law. And I knew then that I needed somebody who would fight for me as hard as I wanted him to fight. And I called Debbie. And I think I found her on a Google search or something, and then I might have sent an email to email was provided. I told her about the whole mess I was in and what had happened. And Debbie knew, I remember she goes, I know what kind of father you are. I know how much you love your son and how much he means to you. So I will help you out. Debbie came around and saved me. She wrote this motion, an emergency motion. It documented everything that had been, all the changes that had taken place. And she painted this picture. I remember I forwarded the email in the rough draft or the order before she filed it to my mom. She called me up and she cried. That was the best motion I have ever read. She goes, you're gonna get him back. Debbie filed it, and she said, okay, well, we should hear something by 5 o'clock or whatever this evening. I was driving, I don't remember where I was driving home from, but I was driving. And Debbie called me, and she says, well, it was granted, you get him. And I was driving, so I had to pull over.
see, I was kind of disbelief. I said, no way, Debbie, are you serious? She goes, I'm serious. She goes, we're gonna get your son back. Comes back, right back to where it was, 50-50, joint decision making. I did get some makeup time that the judge ordered. I've been through a lot of this litigation, and every single motion that's filed, there's always a request in there. We ask that the judge, that this court finds the other party responsible and grant attorney fees to my client. Never been granted. Never heard of it. We got attorney fees granted. I can't get that 1.5 years back that I lost with him. But the best part about this order and at the ending result, this past Thanksgiving in 2021, my son walks up to me, unprovoked, gives me a big hug. And while he hugs me, he tells me, he goes, I love you, Papa. And he stands up and he's got tears in his eyes. So I love you too, mijo. Why are you crying? And he looks at me. He says, thank you for fighting for me. I could not have gotten there without Debbie's help. She was that bulldog that I needed. She has that passion that I look for. She has that fight that I wanted. And without that, I could not have gotten that result. You know, the result of him saying, thank you for fighting for me. That's all I wanted. I don't wake up sad and missing my son anymore. I know I'm gonna see him. It felt like such a big weight lifted off my shoulders. I hold my head up higher. I'm happier, I smile more. I'm back to training. Before all this, we were doing jiu-jitsu, we were training jiu-jitsu together, and then I kind of shut down. I feel like I'm back to having a normal life or a complete life. I have a family back together. I want to say that this experience between my son and I, though, has brought us closer, because I don't think many kids get a chance to really understand or see how much their parent loves them. Don't give up. You fight for your kids as if your life depended on it, because they are your life. The road may seem endless, and you may not see the light at the end of the tunnel. Not in that first week, not in that first month, maybe not even that first year. We can't do it ourselves, legally and emotionally. You need that support system, that bulldog for an attorney.